Welcome back to That Rugby Podcast. Myself, Luke, Hughesy, my man on the other
G'day.
side of the camera.
Yes.
How are we going, my friend? A minute kind of week for rugby, I guess. Only the 4 games played in Super Rugby. I should say
Yeah.
for the Southern Hemisphere, not in South Africa as well, because obviously Europe is heating up with their Champions Cup and everything. But for us, a quiet week on the news front, I'd say.
Yeah, especially for Waratahs fans, I guess like myself, not much coming out of that side of rugby. I think other states, other Australian Super Rugby teams have had a very interesting week. And I'm sure we'll get to touch on that. But I guess for the most important team in Super Rugby, the New South Wales Waratahs, not much going on this week. So, but then again, they've had a couple of busy weeks, so they deserve a week off. A thriller last week against the Brumbies. The Suoliti signing, Jorgensen's extension, getting talked about all that. There's a lot of talk for the New South Wales Waratahs at the moment. Coleman probably is glad of a week off to recharge and reset, heading into a very important back half of the season.
Yeah, I feel like our two teams have had the opposite of halves because I feel like you've played just about every good team, whereas we've actually played every very average team. I actually looked at the table, and if you look at the table, actually, I'm going to bring it up. Give me 2 seconds to bring it up, because I was looking at this the other day when I saw the Hurricanes win. So we had beaten Minor Pacifica, who are obviously 12th at the moment.
Bottom.
We beat the Waratahs, who are second from bottom.
Second bottom at the moment.
We beat the
But
Force.
there's still a very good point differential, though. Like, I'm looking at point differential, and that makes me so mad.
Every single episode, he'll go back to the point differential. I get it, though. I do get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you compare,
It's 30 points better than everyone else.
You're 11 points, 11th place, and you've got a better points differential than 6th place. But back to my point. So we've beaten Minor Pacifica 12, Waratahs 11th, Force who are 10th, the Rebels who are 9th, the Reds who are 8th, and the Highlanders
who are 6th.
6. Wait, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? So there's our 6 wins, and we lost to the Blues who are 5th. So we haven't played the 7th, and then 4-3-2. We haven't played them yet. So I put in our run sheet that let's call the fight over, let's call the competition over, because the Hurricanes are on top, even though we've had a game more than the Chiefs, should I say? I must say I'm not unhappy where we are, because like you've always said, you've got to beat the teams in front of you, and we've done that so far. But I think, some challenges on the way for the Hurricanes, especially when we look at it from a Waratahs point of view, like you have to from the start of the season, where you've played a number of good teams. Other than, I think the Rebels and the Jura, you've played probably the top 4 teams.
We've played the Hurricanes, we've played the Chiefs, we've played the Brumbies twice. We haven't played the Crusaders yet, haven't played the Blues yet, haven't played the Highlanders yet, have played the Jura twice, haven't played the Reds, have played the Rebels, and that's it. So far.
Twice.
No, sorry. We've got the Dura coming up for a second time. Sorry.
Yeah,
it was the Brumbies twice. Yeah.
If you think about it, you've played the Brumbies again, top 2 team. Hurricanes.
Yeah, we played 1, 2, 3, 7, 9.
Yeah. So it feels like we're on opposite sides of the world at the moment, because obviously the Hurricanes with the easy schedule and taking care of the easy schedule, you guys with the harder schedule haven't been able to unfortunately pick up many wins. It's now going to obviously switch. We're coming to the halfway point of the competition. So I guess it's harder for you guys to look on the outset and go, oh my God, we've got, the easiest start of the easiest draw now, but you've still got to win those games. Whereas
we've still got a couple of tough ones in there. No mistake about it. Like the Crusaders, the Blues, even the Rebels, although the Rebels are starting to show some cracks, I guess. But yeah, there's no, and even the Dura are above us at the table at the moment. So no, I don't think any give me wins. But this is where the Waratahs have got to switch on now. And the upcoming match, who have they got this week? They've got the Force. Look, must win. Hey, if the Waratahs don't win this game, I'm putting a fork in them. I draw a line for the season, failed season, and a disappointing year if they lose this one. It is this week. This is the week that it can. Exactly halfway through the season.
I'm not going to go as far. If they lose this game, I'm not going to go as far, because they can still come back, I think. Because, say they lose this game, but then they make the finals, and then let's say they win 2 finals game, it's a successful season.
Yeah, look, for sure. But basically what I'm saying is if they lose this game, I think the chances of them doing that are significantly lower.
Yeah.
I think they have a significantly lower chance of making the finals. And this is played in New South Wales as well. Like they need to win this game in home territory, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Shall we talk about that team that you mentioned at the start of this podcast, which is the Queensland Reds,
yes,
who are in all sorts. And I don't want to go tooting my horn, as I quite often do with this podcast, with how normally right I am. But the Queensland Reds are in a shambles. They're a shambles.
Yes.
Let's not lie. From where they were when they won the Australian Super Rugby competition to where they are now with being beaten at home by 25-ish points against the Brumbies, it's the nightmare that I saw coming. I said Brad Fawn. Again, this isn't me being judgmental of any of the players in the Reds or even Brad Fawn as a coach. I just think, being there since 2017, he took them as far as they were going to get.
Yeah.
And as much as the players will say then it's got nothing to do with him, they've probably stopped responding to him, not in a negative way where they just blanked him out, but there's a limit to everything that I think anyone can go through with a coach, and 6 years is a long time when you look at it. So I just
well, when you're playing on a losing roster, like the coach could say all sorts of things, but you're right, you do sort of tune him out, and not necessarily even because the coach is a bad coach, but because clearly what he's saying isn't resonating with some of the players on the team, might not be resonating with you, and so you think that no matter what the coach is saying, it's not going to make a difference, which is tough. And yeah, I think you're right. I think the partnership has gone as far as it's going to go, and now it's time for it to end and for both parties to move on to something new. It's just time for a refresh. Like the difference in the squads between when he came on board and now is immense as well. I think there was some good individual showings from the Reds, particularly from Tate McDermott. And I think it's worth mentioning his name, especially after he was left out of the Wallabies camp squad. Responding in the best way possible, in exactly the way that Eddie Jones would have wanted him to respond. But at the end of the day, the Brumbies get the win, and individual effort as well is not going to necessarily get you into the Wallaby squad. What's going to get you in is your team winning, because that's what Eddie Jones has said, is that the biggest thing is not going close against New Zealand teams, it's beating the New Zealand teams, right? So you can be brilliant individual player, but if you're not getting your team across the line, your team isn't winning and beating those New Zealand teams, or even beating the Brumbies, the top team in the Australian competition, you're not going to get in. I mean, the week before, the Brumbies were taken literally to the final minute by the Waratahs in Canberra, right? For ACT, right? The Reds, with in Queensland, where they had a great record against the Brumbies, had an undefeated streak for a long time, and to get crushed to be lapped because the Brumbies won 52-24. So they even if they more than doubled their points. Like that's just an embarrassing statistic, right?
Yep.
That's embarrassing. It's not a good look for anyone on that team, for anyone, no matter how individually brilliant you might have played. It's not a good look for anyone on there. Because one of the key things and one of the, I guess, big criticisms of Super Rugby by Northern Hemisphere teams is the lack of defense, or the defensive efforts aren't as strong as the Northern Hemisphere. And so you can show all the attacking flair that you want, but at the end of the day, what's going to beat New Zealand, what's going to beat those Northern Hemisphere teams is defense.
Yeah, totally. And talking about, I guess, beating New Zealand teams, as Eddie Jones put it, a player who did make the Australian squad, Carter Gordon, his Rebels, again, a first half, 17-13 at halftime, and to lose 54-17 in the second half.
Capitulation.
Now, I understand, and this is kind of getting us onto our next point of injuries, because the Rebels did lose both hookers and were actually ended up in a Goldies Oldies situation, which I imagine doesn't happen often in professional rugby these days. But it's becoming to that point with injuries where it's a massive statement to be injured at this point. So, like, we've heard the news out of the Sharks camp with Ebenezer being injured. Jordan Ulisse obviously was the first one to walk off with the Melbourne Rebels in the hooking position, who was selected in that Australian squad. Then you had Alex Murphy, I think it is, who hobbled off with a hand injury after him. 151 days out, we're from the World Cup now, 21-ish weeks, so under 5 months, an ACL tear, your World Cup is over, guaranteed, like we can say that. Shoulder reconstruction, anything like that, that's going to put you out for 3-4 months, a very good chance, unless you're a superstar, that you're probably not going to be in the squad. I just looked up and they did a report where in English professional rugby, the injuries that they had, an average time of loss was 18 up to about 27 days for an average time lost to injuries and injury during the season. So now as we get closer and closer to the World Cup, like that might not be a bigger problem, losing about 3 to 4 weeks, but you do that in 1 or 2 more months time, and then Eddie Jones has got to think where the match fitnesses are. I was running through it. You've got Isaac Rodder at the moment, who's out injured, still hasn't played, I think, a game for Super Rugby yet. Rob Leota, another one, was named Melbourne captain, hasn't played. Taniela Tupou, we talked about. Angus Bell, all going to be starting to race against the Croc. It's going to be really interesting, I think, the end of the Super Rugby competition into that Rugby Championship, how players get managed. And I know there's both teams are doing it with managing, you can't play this many games, you got to do this, got to do that. But an injury can be crucial now for your chances. And there's no news on Eben Etzebeth if he's going to be actually ready for the World Cup. And that's a massive loss. Like, I was just in there like, that is a big loss for South Africa. Imagine Aaron Smith or an Adi Savia was to do something, you start to doubt a lot of things. So it's an interesting time, I guess. Injuries, got to be watchful of that.
Absolutely. It is coming down to, it's very interesting to see, having Super Rugby and Rugby Championship in the World Cup for all those reasons, injury management. And you got to be wondering if Eddie Jones is whispering in a few coaches' ears saying, cut this guy's minutes down, I want him for the World Cup kind of thing. And how much stock those coaches have to put into that. It is a very interesting situation, especially I think for the Wallabies, because they do have so many question marks around the pitch with a new coach, right? And we don't know sort of where Eddie's thinking is going to be. We don't know there's no enshrined players under Eddie Jones at this point, right? There's no one in the current Wallabies that has played for Eddie Jones before, right? Because obviously his tenure was so long ago. So there's no loyalty essentially from the coach's perspective. It's a completely open slate. And so if you're injured and you're someone like a Michael Hooper or Angus Bell or Taniela Tupou, you're injured and you're not available, Eddie Jones might just look past you and bring on some younger players, some more unknowns. And it's going to be real interesting when it comes down to the time for the World Cup squad to be actually selected.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it last week when we were talking about Rory Arnold. You've got to be playing rugby, and at what point is it too late?
Can't be making trucks.
Exactly, too late to be playing rugby and making trucks or sitting on the sideline injured. And as we've said before, availability is the best ability. It just 100%. Is like, if you're not there, you can't make your name for yourself. So I just thought it's an interesting perspective. I heard rumours about this, and I think there was a story that broke it probably about a month ago now, but they were looking into changing the Rugby Championship and the Super Rugby over, the schedule. So the Rugby Championship would happen earlier in the year and Super Rugby later. What's your thoughts
similar
on
to
that?
The Six Nations.
Yeah.
It's exactly. So it happens around a similar time as I actually quite like that, right? Because it's a similar I think it works well for the South Africans as well as the Australian and New Zealanders, right? Because South Africans they're playing in the European Championship and things like that now. Their, I guess, English, French, Irish, Welsh, Scottish counterparts, Italian counterparts have all been, a lot of their star players have been playing rugby before those competitions kick off with the Six Nations. So then they get a chance to get some chemistry going with some of their other players and things like that. I think for Australian rugby, I think it's really good as well. I think it's starting off the year with international matches generates more interest than sort of having them in the middle of the year towards the end of the year, right? I think spacing it out across the year is really great, right? And you're not competing with rugby league at that time of year either, or AFL, right? You're competing with your Big Bash and cricket and other stuff like that. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I think it makes the competition a lot more interesting for the Rugby Championship, and it gives the coach more of a chance to work as well. Like, you have this the Rugby Championship at the start of the year. You get a good look at the players, right? And then you see them throughout Super Rugby, how they participate there, and then you can come back for your end of year tours and everything like that as well. And then you've got you almost sort of flip it. You have the end of year tours to look at your players. All right, get them ready for the Rugby Championship. You've got sort of then a break up until the Rugby Championship. Players less likely to be injured, or they've got time to recover and things like that. Go into camp. You spend time bonding with them. I mean, I'm a fan of the move, and it means the rugby calendar is aligned Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere as well. So I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, I would be interested in them releasing like a schedule to say this is an example of what it would look like, and actually, be able to make a good opinion on it, because I think it could really work well too. Like, there's a very good chance, like you said, it goes Rugby Championship at the start of the season, then we go into Super Rugby, take a break in the middle of Super Rugby for those July tests, and then end of year international rugby again. You're competing less with league, with those early international games, building the hype. Everything you've just said, mate, it was
absolutely.
I can see it working. Talking about some of those South African teams, as you said, missing the boat a little bit after Six Nations that, players got ready. The South African teams knocked out of Champions Cup and all European football, with the Lions losing as well. I think it's in the European competition. South Africa, as strong as their first year has been, the Sharks and the Stormers knocked out this weekend. And so now we see, I think it's Leinster versus Toulouse.
It is Leinster versus Toulouse and La Rochelle versus Exeter.
So, Leinster's a carbon copy of the Irish team, just about. Like, I watched the highlights of their win against Leicester, and they're I can see why they're favourites to take it out, because they are a carbon copy of their Irish team, just in the way they play and the way the team's built, with the amount of Irish superstars they have in there. But it'll be good. Irish against France, and then France against England. It's going to be a good competition to round out the Champions Cup. Talking about two French teams, the French just dropped their kit for the Rugby World Cup. My friend, what are your opinions on this kit?
I took a brief little look at it before the podcast. I like it. I like a bit of the. So in the Six Nations, they had the all blue, and it was. I mean, it's not bad, but I do like the white shorts. I think it's a bit of a. It feels more classically French, whereas I think the all blue is it reminds me a bit of the Italians, I guess. Yep. The only thing with this one is then it's now sort of similar to the Scottish uniform, but you're going to find that. Look, countries have all got, red, white, and blue is a very common, I guess, color system for countries. But look, I like it. You've got the Le Coq Sportif on the breast and everything like that. I quite like it. I think it's like a good spread of colors, and it just sort of feels a bit more French.
Yeah,
to me.
So let me, I guess, express myself with this. I fucking hate them, because they've done it this dark blue again. So it means that if we play them, when we play them, because we're in the same group, we'll have to wear either the grey, which I don't think we'll ever wear again because of the past memories of the grey. So it'll be our white kit. And we are known as the All Blacks, so fuck them for that. I like the idea of a new kit for the Rugby World Cup like this, like quite a change from what they had in the Six Nations. I think that's really cool. And I'd like the All Blacks to do something. Obviously, we're not going to have such a big change, but just something to really spice it up for Rugby World Cup. Same with the Wallabies. I like the idea of, hey, this is our World Cup kit, and it is something different, but something the same. I'd like it like a traditional looking one, but it's different to the one that they're currently wearing or will wear in the Rugby Championship, like the French have done here. I do like that they've gone back to their style. I love the white one, I must say. I think the white one is very spick. But I again, It's just it's the only reason is that now that they clash with us is the only reason I hate it, I must say. And
I mean, it is the blue of their flag though, right? The lighter blue was not a real French blue. Like the French blue is that dark
totally.
blue.
But again, I think they've done this because they know they have to play us in the pool games because they did that last time, Hughesy. I'm just coming close for all these fucking French out there. You know how much I hate you already. Right?
Well, they did it because they had to remove their sponsor from the front of the jersey.
Yes.
So they had to redesign the jersey.
All of them have to remove it anyway. But it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see the rest of the team slowly release. I like the fact that the French went first as host nation.
Host nation. Yeah.
So it's cool that's come out. So hopefully. So I imagine ours won't come up until after the Rugby Championship.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I hope people could see I'm wearing sort of the Indigenous alternate jersey of the Wallabies today. For those audio listeners, I've just described it for you, with the dark green and the pattern, the Indigenous patterning and artwork on it. Now, I don't want to see the dark green jersey at the World Cup, but I would like to see some more Indigenous representation on the jersey. I think that's a really important part of Australian culture because one of the things that make the All Blacks so unique is the haka before the game, is that integration of Maori culture into the rugby team, and I think the Wallabies should do the same. If not learning some Indigenous war dances or some Indigenous practices to do before the game to really integrate that into the rugby team. But something simple as having the Indigenous artwork on the jerseys, I think is really important, and I'd like to see that. And they're doing a good job of promoting that more and more. I think it makes the jerseys look a lot better. I think it makes it look a lot more Australian. Because what you said before, we talk about the French jerseys is right. Like the All Blacks are known as the All Blacks. That All Black uniform is now intrinsically associated with New Zealand rugby, right? And so I think Australian rugby has got the gold, yes, the Wallaby gold, but I think it can go a bit further and bring in some of that Indigenous culture into it. The gold jersey and the Wallabies, and have Wallaby artwork on there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what I'd like to see is the gold jersey, all over, and a green slit on the armband with some white Indigenous design there. Just really simple. So it's a plain, gold jersey. They've got a bit of green, with all the cuffs and everything like that. And then you've just got that artwork, just like you said, to show who you are and represent who you are. I'm sure if we didn't have a Māori team, I'm sure there'd be a bit more Māori representation onto the jerseys. But the fact that they've got the Māori team, they probably leave it up to them. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the kits. I imagine we'll keep you up to date with teams dropping them fast. Does anyone else wear a yellow kit or a gold kit? Romania might wear yellow, but that's about the only team.
Let me have a look and see in the World Cup.
Spain, but that'd be more
Spain. They're red, sort of yellow and red.
Actually, they're not there. They got kicked out. So they're not
there. You go. So
for playing an unregistered player, who wasn't. Sorry? They were kicked out for playing an unregistered player. So he was registered, but he was in actually Spanish, and they played him. And then,
I think in this World Cup, Romania would be probably the only one. I know South Africa, because they're sort of the reverse of Australia. They're the green and gold as well, but primarily green. I don't know if they have a yellow kit or not, actually.
No, I don't think they would.
Yeah, so
because they wear
really
white
just Australia
as their alternative. Yeah. Anyway, I was just thinking because you said you don't want to bring the green back if you'd ever be made to wear the green.
I not for a World Cup. I don't mind it for Rugby Championship and things like that, but just not for the World Cup. Fair
enough. Shall we move on talking about World Cups, 2027 World Cup on home soil? You've signed Joseph Suaalii. Now I'm going to ask you, Hughesy, 5 more NRL players that are on your hit list, Hughesy. Just
my hit list.
Not Eddie Jones, your hit list.
Look, well, I think Eddie Jones and I are similarly got similar rugby acumen, similar brains, I think. I think it's probably going to be, there's a few of these players on the list are going to be no surprise. But there is one that I think will really surprise you. All right. Now, this is not for this is including this World Cup. I think one of them is not for the 2027 World Cup. One of them is for this World Cup.
This World Cup. Okay.
This World Cup. And it's not going to happen, but I think it would be really interesting to see this player signed. So number one player on the hit list is Cam Murray, right? I don't think there's, former rugby player, Australian schoolboys rugby, I think could be a great addition to the centers. I think he'd actually adapt very well to a flanker type position as well. I was
legitimately about to say, I think I would actually go blindside flanker for him. I reckon would be the.
I could see him there as well. Yeah. Will Panasini, connection with Joseph Suaalii as well. Look, some attacking flair back. It's good to have. Now, we frequently talk about the locking needs of Australia. Someone's already put his hand up for that. Big Nelson, he wants to come over. Why would you not want him to come over? Big towering lock like that. Someone who can look in the eyes of the likes of Eden Etzber or your Brody Retallick and things like that. And he's already normally I wouldn't say it because he is a Kiwi, but he said he wants to do it, right? He said he's open to Eddie Jones calling him. He's putting his loyalty there for Australia. So if he's willing, why not?
Would be a good pickup for the Rebels.
Sorry?
Would be a good pickup for the Rebels.
Absolutely. Number 4, Matty Burton, right? Those big bombs. I could see him in a center position as well. He's already got a song about him that's going around, a very popular song. So we'll bring more fans to the game as well. Some youth as well. I could even see him in the 10 jersey potentially as well. Like, I think he's got the attacking skills for that. Now, this last one is for he will not be around for the 2027 World Cup, or if he would be a bit too old for the team. But I was watching some of the Aussie halfbacks during the week and in previous weeks, and to say I'm not particularly inspired by any one of them. Like, I actually think, and look, I should have actually done my proper research here. The Moana Pacifica halfback, I thought, was throwing some absolute dimes of passes, and I was just looking at some of the Aussie halfbacks, and I really was not that inspired. I think it's Ere Enari.
Yeah, Enari. Yeah, he plays for.
Yeah, Caleb Clark's cousin. I believe it's Ere Enari. He's got the great hair as well. Yeah. Let me have a look.
That would be him.
I believe it's him. Yeah, throwing some absolute bullet passes, and right on the money as well. And I was thinking the Wallabies, it's not talked about as much as the 10 jersey, but I think halfback is somewhere that they could use some improvement. I think a player that could improve the Wallabies for the 2023 World Cup at the halfback position is a form halfback in the NRL who's also played hooker. He's played state of origin level, right? He's a Queenslander, and he is from my St. George Dragons, Ben Hunt. I think he would be an excellent halfback in rugby union, because you watch the effort he puts in on defense. I reckon he's a better defender than most Super Rugby halfbacks and most Wallaby halfbacks, because he puts his body on the line every time, and he takes down guys like Nelson in one-on-one tackling 100%. Situations. I think, and because he's got that hooker halfback in the NRL utility experience, I reckon he'd be a great rugby union halfback. Now, I think for the 2027 World Cup, bit too far down the track, but for the 2023 World Cup, let's say look, he's already, this is my crackpot scientist theory going here, right? He's already hitched his wagon to Anthony Griffin and said to the Dragons, put your faith in Anthony Griffin, put your faith in the team, and we'll come through for you. And St. George Illawarra Dragons have told Anthony Griffin, you need to reapply for your own job, because we're going to be interviewing other people and you need to beat them out to keep your job. So the Dragons obviously haven't listened to Ben Hunt whatsoever there, and he's the captain of the team. Let's say he becomes disillusioned with that because of the way the Dragons management have been handling the team, been handling the coach, have been handling someone who is his good friend. Ben Hunt decides, you know what? Let me call up Eddie Jones here. Let me tell him, hey, Eddie, look, you guys need a halfback. No one's playing particularly well in the Australian halfbacking position right now. Not as good as I can play, right? Give me a chance. Bring me on board. I will show you what I do. I'll walk out on this contract for the Dragons this year, and I'll slot right in. Wherever you want to send me there. I'm in New South Wales. I can join the Waratahs. I'm a Queenslander. I'll go up to Queensland. I've got some mates down in Melbourne. I'll go live in Melbourne. Western Australia, why not? ACT, why not? And he slots in there at the halfback position. You tell me, who would you fear more, Ben Hunt in the Wallabies at halfback or any of the current halfbacks?
Ben Hunt, you're not wrong.
Yeah, Ben
Yeah.
Hunt.
Yeah,
So
honestly,
not for the 2027 World Cup. He'd be 37 then. He's just turned 33. He's got the gamesmanship. He's got the individual running ability. He's got a kicking game. His passing is crisp, and he's a great defender. What could you want out of your halfback?
I mean, it's incredible to think, because I had no idea who you were going to say, but that would be a really interesting prospect. The way he played on the weekend for your Dragons against my Titans was incredible. And that's the thing. I could even just about picture him being the most ultimate utility who could play 9 and 10. Because as we've seen him in the halves, he's one of the best running 10s in the game. And like you said, he could learn box kicking like that as well. Like his kicks are fantastic. So that's not a bad shout. I imagine, you know what? I like your mad scientists. Mad scientists come together. Anthony Griffin gets offered a coaching gig by Eddie Jones. Yeah. And there you go.
I needed to put some spice in there for you. Like the other 4 have all been talked about by Eddie already. I mean, they make sense. They're logical. But on this podcast, we do things differently. I needed to put a little bit of that Hughesy magic in there to give you something for those Instagram reels and TikToks that everyone loves so much. And I think that one, I mean, it's a good talking point. I mean, you even said if Ben Hunt chucked on a Wallabies jersey for this year's Bledisloe Cup, I think he'd do a better job than pretty much any other Australian halfback that's there at the moment.
Fair enough. To finish off today, talking about World Cup and this year's World Cup, I've put on the topics. A bolter for the World Cup squad in 2023 in under 5 months' time now. I shall start for the All Blacks bolter. My All Blacks bolter is pretty easy, I think. It's Cam Roigard. Cam Roigard is playing out of his skin for the Hurricanes. And what I've kind of attached to Cam Roigard is, I think, as far as the Hurricanes go this year, is the more and more his stock's going to go. So if he can carry this Hurricane squad to even a grand final or a semi-final and a tough loss in a semi-final, I think he goes in there as a third halfback choice, because currently you've got Aaron Smith and Finlay Christie, I think, are the 2 that are locked down. I look at the Crusaders halves and I'm not that impressed. The Chiefs half, Brad Weber, definitely has an opportunity with the way the Chiefs are playing at the moment. But I just see the way Cam Roigard is lifting his game to the next level. With no TJ Perenara behind him, I just go, I wouldn't say the Hurricanes have the best pack in the comp, but what he's doing is just fantastic. So I can see him making a push for that third spot, getting an opportunity maybe in the Rugby Championship. And if he takes that, I can definitely see him in the All Blacks come 2023 Rugby World Cup time. And I think he'd do a job. I think he'd do a bloody good job.
I think mine is fairly easy as well. I think it's everyone's, the name on everyone's lips, the bolter for everyone, Max Jorgensen, right? I mean, I don't. You look at he's already in the camp team with Eddie Jones. There's a number of other names I did consider, like a Carter Gordon or Blake Shoop as well, some uncapped players. But I think at the end of the day, right, he's not only a good player, but he's a good marketing tool as well. And I think he embodies a lot of toughness as well for someone that's a bit smaller. Like, he's not a massive bloke, but he's playing superbly well. And I think I'm really surprised that there's not more chat about Corey Toole as well for the Brumbies, who's been playing absolutely fantastic for them, has played sevens as well. I think his height counts against him a lot, but he's showing time and time again that speed kills, speed and skill kills, and Jorgensen's doing the same thing. But Jorgensen, I think, is the more obvious bolter and the more likely of the two.
What position are you having him play?
Fullback.
So
I think you have Korobetti one wing, Nwangani Tawase the other wing.
And again, I'm not saying you have to put him in your starting team, but there's 31 players can go to the Rugby World Cup. And last Rugby World Cup, the Australians selected 2 halfbacks so that they could select 4 wingers. I read this because I was reading an article just yesterday about this, and the All Blacks went the other way. We had 3 halfbacks, so 3 wingers, and then you have 2 fullbacks. So I looked at it. You've got, let's say we do the same thing again. You only take 2 halfbacks to this World Cup. You've got 4 wingers and 2 fullbacks to choose from. I think you've got 2 of the names you said there, Korobetti and Callaway.
And Callaway's there as well. I think,
and then Nawanga Nitawase.
Yeah.
So those three there. Then I think you've got Jordan Pataya, Tom Wright, Reece Hodge. So my question then is, who does he come over for those other? Because you've got those three.
Pataya at outside centre.
At outside centre. So then you would take.
Then I would have, so the thing is well, okay. So Nawanga Nitawase and Korobete are pure wingers, right? You take Callaway as long because he's also got fullback versatility. You take Hodgland because he's a safe bet, right?
Option as well,
You got Pataya at outside centre, but he's also got versatility to go to fullback. And I think you take Jorgensen along as a fullback who's also got versatility to go winger.
And then probably like a Tom Wright who's the exact same.
Exactly.
Cool. Oh, yeah, no, that's fair enough. Like it was more the who are you dropping there, but if you put Pataya into the centres, you're taking Karevi, Ikitau, and probably Fekete as well. So
I think Parisi misses out.
He hasn't had such a good year, has he?
No, he's come back from a severe injury. I think people forget it. So I think honestly, it's a toss up for me between Ikitau and Fekete as the sort of backup to Karevi. Like Karevi's the penciled in number 112 if he's there. You know, if he's not injured, right?
But Ikitau starts at outside centre, surely.
Yes. Sorry, you're right.
So then Fekete would be your backup 12, and then
Fekete would be backup 12. Pataya starting 13, Ikitau 13. Right? Yeah.
Well, yes. You're just Pataya or Ikitau, whoever. Yeah. I would in my mind right now, Ikitau's the starting 13 for you guys. I would Pataya again. Pataya, like you said, you can put him at 23. He can play outside centre, wing, and fullback. Yeah, you've got the best of all worlds there. So
100%. He can slot him where he's needed there.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure we had some relevence to your bolter. Like, how was he going to fit into the squad?
I think he's one of those players you find a position for, right? Where you put him at wing, you put him at fullback. But I could see like sort of a starting Wallabies backline at the moment, based on sort of these include plays not on Eddie Jones's camp list, but I'd say 9 at the moment. Your starting 9 is probably Nick White.
Has to be, yep.
Probably Nick White and probably Tate McDermott on the bench.
Yep.
Your 10 is probably Quaid.
Yep.
I think Noah did a good job this week to sort of show up Eddie Jones, but I think Quaid's probably your first choice, depending on how he comes back from his injury, depending on his health and his availability, right? Your 12 is Karevi. Your 13 is Ikitau, Pataya, toss up there. I think Ikitau, though, is because he's on the team that's beating New Zealanders and he's on the top team, you probably give him the nod based on form. 11 and 14, Nawanga Nitawase and Korobete, or I could equally see Callaway and Korobete as your wingers. Marika's one of them, and then Callaway or Nawanga Nitawase, and then 15 is Jorgensen.
Fair enough. I mean, I just good justification for your bolter and him making it, and then even potentially making the squad, like you said.
Yeah.
I don't think Cam Roigard, my bolter, is probably pushing himself into the top jersey, but Jorgensen, a bit more of an open spot, that fullback jersey, definitely for the Aussies.
I think it's because as well, I think Tom Wright, we've sort of seen what he can offer from the fullback position. I think wing's a better position from him than fullback.
Agreed.
And I don't think he's as good a winger as Korobete, Callaway, and Nawanga Nitawase. Yeah. I think he offers you someone who's serviceable at fullback and at wing, and you bring him along because then he can cover 2 spots in case of injury, right? And you're not going to be playing someone super out of position. But I don't think he's a starter.
Fair enough. I'm not going to make you argue that point yet until we get closer to Rugby World Cup squad time, and then we'll definitely discuss the squads in a bit more depth. That is us for today on the Rugby Podcast. We have covered everything. Like I said, a bit of a lesser extent of news in the week, but we will be back again next week with a full round of Super Rugby, I believe. And much more. But for now, thank you for joining us.
It's another short round. The next 2 rounds are short rounds as well. And then when we come to our commentary night is the next full round of Super Rugby.
The 28th, the next full round of Super Rugby. All right, so the Hurricanes play again. So gosh. All right. All righty.
The week after is when you've got your break.
Okay. Nice. Excellent. Thank you for joining us today. I've been Luke. That has been Hughesy, that man right there in the Wallabies jersey, although you can't see him if you're listening to us. But thank you for joining us.
They can feel me.
We will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Peace.